if you're at a listing presentation and your brain is somewhere else, you're going to piss off those people on the other end. When your loved ones are trying to tell you about their special thing that happened during their day, and your back of your brain, you're sitting here going like, did I send that paperwork over? I'm not sure I sent it over. Maybe I should get on that later. And they're all of a sudden going, you know, Dad doesn't care that I got the grade that I was striving for and studying so hard for on that exam. Like, he doesn't care. This is the unintentional things that can happen when you're not fully engaged and fully in the moments of what you're doing. So this is why I love the mental commute, the being in a space, showing up to do what you're going to do 100%, because that's multitasking, and it damages a lot more than just productivity. Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. I got my friend Matt Benelli with me this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my friend. Great to see you as always.
Good to see you as always. As you are joining us right now, if you haven't done your business planning yet for 2026, it is available. It is inside Life at 10 Tenths. You should come check it out. We have recorded episodes. We have amazing tools to help you get through the business planning process. We have developed them ourselves. They are available for you. We're having a ton of fun in here with all of our people right now. Currently, right now, as we record this, we're doing it live. And depending on when you come in, when you want to grab it, we're going to leave this up so that you can come in, take all the sessions, go through it just like you were live with us, and we'd love to have you build out an amazing 2026. Matt, is there anything I'm missing on this other than go to 10tenths.co? Because you always go, Garrett, you should probably put that in there too. Anything else?
No, I mean, yeah, they just need to know where to go. So there we are.
I got it today. I'm on it. It's going to be a good day. I can feel it right now. Well, let's get into the episode, man. You brought this topic up, and it is something that I have done a lot of research on over the years. I've talked about this 10 different ways about what is the right thing you should do. And every time an agent brings it up to me going, do you think maybe I should have a home office and just leave my main office and I don't need to really go in there every day? There are questions and question marks and warning flags and why are you doing that and what are you trying to accomplish? And then you brought this to me as well, from the brokerage side, like, what does this mean? What are brokerages trying to accomplish? Is it going to do what they think it's going to do? And I'm like, we should talk about this. So here we are, man.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great. I think maybe you put this on the list originally, but I
think it's an old one. I think it's been up the list for a while. I think you grabbed it off there. It was like, let's do this one.
And I know people think about this, and I'll just preface this by saying, like, there's no right answer to this, but there are things to consider from an individual perspective and from a brokerage perspective. And there's discipline, there's culture, there's efficiency, there's effectiveness, because yes, eliminating the commute post-COVID, right? A lot of work from home, eliminating that commute. It's like, oh my gosh, look at all this time that I have back now because I don't have to drive to an office and go here and there. And this has been an ongoing battle for brokerages for the past decade plus of how do we get people into the office? Should we even have this office space? And so why don't we start from the agent perspective, Garrett, so that we can kind of lean that in, and then we can build up to the broker perspective, because they are two different things, right? And how an agent operates at their home, because gosh, you've been working from home for over 20 years. I've been working from home for almost a decade, and it obviously has worked out okay for us. Right? We're making that work at a very high level. And so it's not that it works or doesn't work, it's how do you get it to work for yourself and what's going to work for you based on what you need.
Well, you said this word a second ago, which is discipline. And I think first it's got to start there. Like, you have to have some serious rules about working at home. And yeah, I find more often than not when someone's like, I'm just not making it work. I'm like, well, where's your office? And they're like, well, I have it in the bedroom right now. I'm like, bah, like, okay, let's stop right there. Or, we've taken over the kitchen table and I have to like take down my work every night so we can make dinner. And then like, next morning, once the kids have got all cleaned up or we're all cleaned up, my office comes back to the kitchen table. So I think there's a lot of discipline that has to happen around this. And it's interesting, and where this my example I'll share with you kind of to lead into all this. Years ago, I watched this happen in real time. Some of you, if you're in the real estate industry back in 2008, 2009, 2010, we watched agents that were given a choice. They were given an option to work from home. And it all happened because, the financial, situation that came up, banks failed, sales came to a screeching halt. We watched brokerages. I was in communication with a ton of brokerages at this time that was like, they were like, hey, you know what? We're going to do what we can to save the situation that's here right now. We're going to try to eliminate desk fees for our agents. We're going to get rid of the brick and mortar office. We're going to send everybody home. Not every office did this, by the way. And we watched this division of ones that said, nope, we're bringing people in to we're sending people home, which gave these agents a freedom, which a lot of them took. If it was given to them, they said, I can eliminate some costs and I can still be at the brokerage that I love. And oh my gosh, this is so great. And thank you so much. And we watched it from the outside and we're like, well, let's just keep track of what happens here. And what we watched was a lot of companies that sent everybody home, the agents' productivity went through the floor. They lost their focus on their business. They lost the camaraderie of the office. They lost the energy of walking in and seeing their peers and going like, oh my gosh, I got a new listing and this and that. They lost all that, where the other office, even though production was down, even though things were a little bit slower, they were still coming together and bringing that energy up. And these agents, whether we say they thrived or they survived through that time, it happened. Like they made it. Most of those offices came out fairly strong through those 3 years of very, very, very weird real estate market. I say this because I saw that happen in real time. Now, there's more to this story because we just saw it happen through COVID, where they sent everybody home and everyone's like, look at how more productive everybody is working from home. And oh my gosh, this is a model we never knew existed. I'm just going to wrap this really quick. They had nothing else they could do. They couldn't go and camp and hike and, be doing the things that they loved. The only thing they could do was be at home and go, well, what do I do now? Okay, I guess I'll do some work and I'll do some research. I'll do some property impact reports. I'll start sending those out right now and make those all happen. I'm just going to sit on my back porch and call all my database and be in flow with them. And oh my gosh, all this business is here. Look at how productive. Why don't we always work from home? Until we got the doors open back up. And then everyone's like, oh, well, I'm going to go do this and do that. And I don't have time to make my phone calls right now. I think people actually made phone calls just to get away from their families sometimes, or they're like, what is an excuse so I can leave the screaming of the other room? Came out, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to turn it over to you. But that I saw that all happen in real time. That is the truth. And I think it's an interesting thing to think about in today's world of what are we really talking about when we say work from home?
Yeah, well, and I think too, comparing those two time periods, there's obviously a difference in technology that was available. There's also a difference in reason and emotional environment that was set up. So when offices kind of say, hey, we're not going to do the in-person thing, you guys can work from home, the mental environment hasn't been set up at home to work. Whereas during COVID, it was, oh, we all have to work from home. So the idea of work was still existent. And I think for most real estate agents, they are on accident. No offense to you guys who are listening, but if you don't have a business plan, if you're open up your calendar right now and there's nothing on your calendar, you're on accident.
No offense, but put your hand up if that's you. Like, just raise it high. Just be like, that might be me. I would never call myself on accident, but now with Matt saying it that way, it might be me.
Well, because even if you have a list of things to do, but it's not built into your calendar, when you go to an office, you're kind of like, well, I better do my work. Whereas when you're at home, you don't have a calendar set up. So you don't have that drive, that nudge to say, hey, it's time to do these calls. It's time to do these market impact reports. So it's like, well, hey, let's do some laundry. Now, the other side of that is if there's other people in your home and they don't see you working, they assume that you don't have work to do. And if there's nothing on your calendar, they cannot see that you have work to do. And so that environment changes as well. And those things factor in. And during lockdowns, so to speak, everybody kind of understood, well, we still got to get work done. And so there was that motivation to still pull up the to-do list, make the calls and all those things. But then as the offices opened up again, and people were like, oh, well, you're still home. I guess you don't really have work because you're not going into the office. And it's like, well, I do have work to do, but in the non-conscious, like, but I'm a non-accident realtor. And like, well, I guess I could do that later. And that's where we get into trouble. And this is why discipline, if you're going to work from home, is so incredibly important. And discipline is going to come from the structure that you set up, whether it is a dedicated environment, physical environment, a home office, or even just a desk and a quarter that's set up like, hey, this is where my working station is. Or you just know, like if you're fully digital and you can just have everything in your laptop and your phone and just move here and there and go, great. It all depends on how you show up with intention in those moments. And for the most part, a lot of people have struggled in figuring that out. And I get it. I mean, and I will say for us, Garrett, it's been a little bit easier because if I'm going to be on a meeting with somebody, if I'm going to be on a coaching call, I have those things scheduled in. So I'm going to show up. Right. But even when I started working from home back in 2017, 2018, there were times where I didn't have a call. And if I had other people in the house, they're like, oh, cool. Like, can we hang out? Can we do this? I'm like, no, I'm working. And I had to work on like, how do you communicate that to the people around you so that the people in your environment understand? Because when you go to an office, everybody's there to work. So everybody understands. But when you're working from home, not everybody's there to work. Kids are there to play. Spouses are there to do other things, whatever it is. And so you have to not only set up your physical environment and emotional environment for yourself, communicating that to the other people who exist in that environment is important to help protect your mental headspace when you show up to work, Garrett.
Well, you have to have the understanding with the people around you and the communication with the people that are around you so that you understand. More often than not, and everybody knows this, when you have house guests that come and visit, and all of a sudden in real estate, you don't have to necessarily go into the office. So all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I'm kind of entertaining mode this week. I've got family in town, whatnot. And they just don't understand. I have to get some stuff. I have to walk away and make some phone calls, and they just keep making plans and they don't get it. You've never communicated to them, like, I have a working structure, something I have to be doing today, and I'm gonna have to walk away and actually go to work. And I don't think we look at it as like that. Like, I have to go to work.
Well, and that idea has bled into everyday life, because that one time when family comes and visit, we're like, oh, I'm going to still work. It's like, let's be honest. Are you really going to work, or do you want to be there with your family who's in town? The thing is that now has bled into everyday life of like, well, I guess I could push it off to next week and next week and next week. And all of a sudden we haven't done any business in 6 months. And so that example that you share of people, family coming in to visit is perfect. People have just done that every single day, regardless of whether family's visiting or not.
What I have found, and it's funny, the more we've been talking about this, Matt, is I'm looking back at every house that I've owned since, because I have worked from home for 22 years. So when I look back at every house I've owned, I've had 3 separate houses during that time. And every single house that I have worked out of has a mental commute built into it. The house where we started the old coaching program, I had the main house, and we built a garage outside with the office up above it. And there was hey, goodbye, everybody. See you a little bit. I'm going out this way. And I'd walk out the kitchen door. I had to go up a flight of stairs outside and into a building on the top floor. And I was in my office. I was in my work zone. I was there all by myself. I had my computer. It was very, very, very simple setup. If I look at the house that we moved into after that, we had a guest house in the backyard that was sectioned out, where one room of that was the office. My commute, wake up in the morning, get the kids all ready for school, do all my stuff. And I was like, all right, see you guys later. And I would walk across the grass in the backyard over to the other house, and we had my office and we were set up. This house is a little bit different, but it's funny, when my realtor sold me on this house, and I will say I was sold on this house, which I appreciate Glenn Burchett doing that, is that he said, I got the perfect house for you. And I said, does it have a separate space outside that's my office? He goes, it's better. I'm like, all right. So he shows me this house. He goes, follow me. And we walk through the kitchen, through a door, And I'm like, where are we going? I'm like, are we going into the garage? And he walks me through the garage, through another set of doors. And there's this room that you can't get through any way of the main house. You can now because I knocked holes through walls and stuff. But back then, it was a wood shop off the back of the garage. Uh, Plywood floors, had saws in it, had table saw in the middle of it. I'm like, sweet, it's got a wood shop. He goes, no, your office. And I was like, oh, it's like, this would be a great office. And all of a sudden, like I found, what I needed, and he knew it too, the mental commute, the space away from the main living space that allowed me to go into work mode. And that's what I found for me, Matt, is that there's that mental commute that I have. And sometimes it's only 30 seconds. But once I walk into this environment, this is all my work stuff. I don't even have a laptop that I can take in the other room. I have a stupid little tablet that does very little for me, that really it's best for looking at cars and car parts and things that I like of interest to me, but I'm not really doing any work on it. And Sarah and I were we were building out business planning the other night, and she's trying to show me something, and she goes, here, pull it up on your tablet. I'm like, no, come into my office. If we're going to do work stuff, let's go into the office so I can pull up all my system. I can work better in here. I'm more efficient at it, which then makes me not take it into the other spaces. And this is a challenge I think a lot of people have, is that they have this work that's constantly being pulled into their other parts of their life. And we don't realize it, but we end up multitasking on a really crazy, deranged level that we don't even realize that we're doing. But at one point, we're doing market research. At the other point, we're doing dishes. At the other point, we're getting snacks for the kids. And another point, we're folding laundry. And then, oh yeah, I got to design that postcard over here. And it is the most inefficient you can possibly be, where you'll get done with your day going, man, I never stopped today. Like I was going all day long. As inefficient as you possibly could.
Well, and that gets into having your calendar set up, because this business, being a real estate agent, you're also going to be out and about, right? And so like, do you have moments? Like people have moments where like, hey, I got my laptop with these guys, want to write the contract. I'm an hour away from the office, hour away from home. I'm just going to stop at a coffee shop and get this done. Cool. Awesome. It's about having your structure, understanding where you can work. And I will say, working from home, like, yeah, like my laundry happens during the week, because I know like it takes me 2 minutes to throw clothes in the laundry, move it over here. And so I just kind of like, hey, I got a gap here. I'm going to go take care of that and then come right back to work. And so there's one, building out, is your discipline going to be around it? How do you manage your routine around it? And how do you communicate with the other people who share that space with you, so that they understand that you're working, so that you don't feel bad about, kind of blowing them off, so to speak. But you have to have that communication, because otherwise it goes into what we talked about on I thought it had to be a year ago, the unspoken expectations, where it's like, oh, I'm working from home. Everybody knows that I'm working. I'm like, do they though? Have you told them that you're working? Because they don't know what your workday looks like. They've never been to your office. They've never watched you go through an entire workday. So all of a sudden you show up at home and you expect them to know what your work looks like. Having a conversation about that is important, and showing up in that way. I mean, we're not going to go into the whole like how you dress route kind of thing, but that's part of it too, is getting yourself up, having that morning routine that gets you mentally prepared to show up as a professional in your business, however that is for you. If that means, getting dressed, putting on, the sport coat, and even doing that inside your own home, great. Get yourself ready to go, put on your uniform, put on your game face, and get to work.
It's a huge problem though, Matt. Like by the way, I do need to go back to, I love that you refer to your family of understanding how you can blow them off.
Well, because they're going to ask questions. They're like, hey, you're physically here. Can you help me with this thing over here? And like, I feel so bad for Jen sometimes. This happened yesterday. Jen asked me, she's like, hey, do you have 5 minutes? And I was like, no, I don't have 5 minutes, because Garrett and I are prepping for business planning. We're recording a podcast. And she's like, oh, okay. And, but she's kind of used to that by now. But part of me is like, oh, I feel bad. I want to go and do that. But it's how do you have those expectations set up inside that environment?
But going back to like even you said about like getting dressed and showing up, again, there's supposedly studies out there that talk about like the huge results you'll get by dressing up and all that kind of stuff. But I think the biggest problem with working at home is that we never even get into work mode or performance mode at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, I watched this where it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm not going to the office today. Well, then we like skip our shower, like.
And it's
Okay,
discipline.
that was a good start to the day. And then what, we're still in our pajamas. Well, there are around the house pajamas. Like I'm not in my like rough pajamas. I'm just like, I'm not ready to leave the house. I'm just kind of comfy at the house. Well, that's a problem. Like we're not really in work mode. And then when you do actually get dressed up, like or get dressed, it's like, well, are you in the clothing that you would go and show property? Would you go do a listing presentation in the attire that you're currently in right now? Well, no, because I wasn't planning on leaving the house today. This is actually where a bigger problem in lies, is that we never get into work mode. We never get into that space of, I'm here to get shit done. Like I'm going to accomplish as much as I possibly can today with the hours that are given to me. We're kind of in this halfway zone where we're not fully committed to the workday, but there's no point in having to, spend all the time on that. And it happens all the time. And there is a power of going into the office and have the physical office that it does force you to stop and go, I'm going to go be around people. Like all of a sudden, like, yeah, where I might have not, I mean, I don't do makeup, but I definitely have to do something with this hair. Otherwise people are like, are you okay? Uh, so like, I have to fix that. And, most people are going to be, putting on makeup, putting on different attire than you just wear around the house, at least so you look somewhat presentable and professional when you get around people. And that changes your entire energy. It changes your entire mood.
And that's not even a work from home issue. That is an intention issue in your business.
Yep.
And again, that's why it goes back to the reason why the office environment works for a lot of people is because it accidentally forces you into action. And the work from home environment doesn't accidentally do that. You have to be intentional about it. So again, look at your calendar. If it's blank, that's something that we probably need to fix. We have a great business planning workshop that can help you out.
We
with
do.
That, Garrett. Just go to 10tense.co and hop in. It's going to be amazing because all the recordings are there. It's going to be incredible. But Garrett, I want to switch over to the brokerage side of this too, because from the individual perspective, that's how we can be effective and efficient. Where brokers, I think, are running into a challenge. And if they're making the decision to say, hey, we're going to have less office space, we're going to like kind of let people get home and work from home, like you already have a sales force that should be out in the field working, right? Now we're going to take the office time of them and put them at home. You are going to abdicate your culture that you've established. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't work. Obviously, virtual brokerages are working. EXP and Real are great examples of that, where you have a single office in the entire state where the broker, the managing broker is, and then the individual agents, some of them build out teams and they maybe rent office spaces and whatnot. But for the most part, they have the opportunity to work from home and their culture is built on a virtual platform. For the offices, for the brokerages that are building their culture on brick and mortar and having people in, you got to think about what happens when you send your agents home and you don't invite them into the office and you're just bringing them in on Zoom. Because here's the thing that I'm seeing, Garrett, is that the environment in the professional real estate world is becoming filled with great content from all different platforms. And so when you send an agent home to consume content from all these other places, they get to choose like, well, I have my virtual office meeting, but I could also kind of tune into this other virtual office meeting. I can tune into BAM, which does these free webinars once a month where they have people like Sharon Srivatsa on. I can tune into Life at 10tense and consume from them. Now, we don't have a broker platform, but you run the risk of your agents then going into a different culture if you're not delivering on that, because the virtual platforms, the content is there. And so you have to be very mindful as a broker owner of what is the culture that I want to create here. And that will be what attracts agents into the office. If agents aren't coming into the office, it's not because they don't have time. It's not because they, are like, well, I don't want to do the commute. I can be more efficient and effective. I can sell more if I'm not coming to the office. It's because there's no reason for them culturally to come in. They're not being filled by the environment at the office, because since we've sent everybody home, that accidental force into work, Garrett, isn't necessarily happening at the office right now, because you go in, there's only like 2 or 3 people there. It's quiet.
Yep.
It's like, well, I might as well go get another coffee. Maybe I'll walk down the street and grab lunch. There's no reason for them to get into work mode at the office now either. And brokers got to watch out for that.
Matt, we watched it over the last couple, let's just say year and a half here. I've seen the highest amount of agents get a hold of me going, I think I'm going to maybe move brokerages. I think I'm going to make a change right now. Maybe I should make a change. And I've had to talk so many agents through, why are we doing this? What are you trying to accomplish? What's really going on here? We've watched a lot of agents, a handful that we know really personally, that were like, you know what? I'm going to go over to this office over here. And they made it to this new office. And all of a sudden they're like, this actually isn't really fitting what I thought it was going to be. And now I'm actually planning on maybe heading back to another office. Now, what's really interesting, and you said this, and this is exactly the way that it happened. There was maybe a lack of communication in the initial brokerage. There was a lack of, hand-holding interaction. Then from there, this person goes to a conference and finds all of a sudden this missing culture, this missing energy, this missing vibe, that they're like, ooh, this feels really good. Like that's what I've been missing. But it was in a moment that was attached to a bigger event going on. There was more pump up. The band was playing louder. The bass was heavier. Like all these things. You got the nightclub experience of this office, and then you go and join, and you're like, oh, it's just like the other office I was at. This is in a moment that got my attention because I was needing something. And I think there's a lot of agents out here that are left needing something right now. And when we start sending them home, we start giving them more space, they are actually needing that environment. They're needing your attention. They're needing the communication. And then when you foster it or filter it out there, yeah, they're going to grab it any way they can. And then we scratch our head and go, I don't understand why we're losing agents. I don't understand why I'm having a retention problem. I feel like I'm giving them what they want. No, what they want is they want a place that they can run their business. And real estate agents are a very funny breed where they don't necessarily want a boss. They don't necessarily want a company telling them what they have to do, but they're also not fully like owning that they own a business and that they're like, I'm fully in charge. I'm showing up. I'm working every day. So they're this unique breed, and it's not a bad thing. We just have to understand who they are. They're this unique breed that needs a place with freedom. Like they need a foundation. They need something that they can go, this is where I work. This is my office. A lot of times if you ask a realtor, who do you work for? Oh, I work for Remax, Compass, Coldwell Banker, whatever it might be. And at the end of the day, do they? They hang their license there. It allows them to be a real estate agent, but really they are them as the company, but very few will say it. And the owners and the owners of these brokerages need to understand, like, they're not necessarily independent businesses running out there, which is these agents that we're just giving them the freedom to go run their own businesses. They're this breed that needs both sides. They really need the freedom and they need the foundation. And the best companies I have found have figured out a way to do it. And it's not necessarily the only interaction is going to be a once a week sales meeting. And It breaks down even more when it's a once a week sales meeting that you only have to tune in through Zoom, because that Zoom meeting looks like every other YouTube video they're going to watch this week. I'm just telling you right now, it's about the same interaction.
Also, hopping on Zoom for a meeting, a team, like a sales meeting, is different than hopping on Zoom for a training or something like that. It's easy. You don't get, I was having this conversation with a client the other day where he's talking about his BNI group that is mostly virtual now. And they were virtual obviously during COVID. And he's like, we don't have the opportunity for these side conversations. Like, sure, like when we're sitting there and somebody's talking, like you lock in, that works in person and it works on Zoom, but the conversation beforehand, the 2-minute, like, hey, by the way, I wanted to touch base with you on this, doesn't happen in Zoom because you cannot have it. That environment does not work. And we were just in Texas, Garrett, at Dennis's office where they have a physical office. Some people drive over an hour to commute to that office, and they're there every day. They have
How
team
often do
huddle
they meet
in
as a
person every day,
how often do they meet as a team?
every day, right?
Every day. Listen to that out there. And here is the coolest thing. Like when we walked into that office, the energy of those people, the camaraderie of those people, the like how they were like literally, I'm going to say they were like literally in love with each other. It was a family
Yeah.
of people working together, supporting each other, growing with one another, shared interests. Like in the minute you said they meet every single day, they all come together in that office, they all do their pump me up meeting for the day, and then they shoot out into the industry like, oh, like what?
Yeah.
What you wonder why they're that close.
And I'll throw the other side out there too, because that's a small team, and that works. People are like, well, I can't get my agents in there every day. Well, I mean, I visited Remax Real Estate up in Allentown a couple years ago. We have several clients that are in that company, and they have a much larger office, and they have a fantastic office where they have in-person events and meetings and stuff. And not everybody comes, but they create this culture, this environment where if you come to the office, you're going to get this incredible benefit of being there. And they make it so that they attract, they're like a magnet. They pull the agents in, because I think in the industry in general, and I think in the workplace overall, even outside of real estate, and I think this is one of the reasons why more and more real estate agents don't sell homes every year, is because we think that the business is all about doing the productive activities. Oh, it's just about doing the showings, doing the listings, and closing the deals. We really forget that a big part of the business is the development side of it. And that is done really, really well when you are together in an environment with other people who are also doing it, so that you can attract more business, you can grow your skill set, you can grow all that stuff. And I think when you remove that from the environment, whether it's virtual or physical, and this is what I think a lot of the brokers are doing unknowingly when they're removing the physical aspect, because they don't have anything virtual to replace it. They're removing the development, the personal and professional development of their agents out of that culture, which ruins it. And that's unfortunate. So you have to figure out, how do you want to do that? I think there's a great opportunity to do it in person. I think that over the next few years, we're going to see people being pulled into in-person environments, whether that's from the workplace or whatever, because of a lot of things that are going on digitally. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but there's an opportunity to do it.
But if you think about it, so let's just take the in-person thing just for a second. Like when I was selling real estate way back in the day, I don't want to make myself sound too old, but all of my contracts, when I wrote a contract, I presented it face to face. When I had a listing and there was a buyer that came in that was writing we were still at a time that we presented those face to face. We'd set up an office time. We'd get together really quick. We'd go over what is your buyer offering? Great, back and forth. I'm going to present this to my client. I have a very clear understanding of what you guys are doing, and I'd go do that. We got away from that because we're like, we don't have time to do that. Like things are moving so fast. We have the ability now of just doing DocuSign. We can send things back and forth. I can send this over by text. Hey, I have an offer for you guys. What do you guys think? Here's the parameters of it. I'll send over some paperwork in a little bit. You can see what it's like. We went into this fast-paced mode of going, we can be more efficient. We don't need to sit face to face and do this. And I think in the negotiation of real estate right now, by the way, that's a lost art, and that's really too bad.
Oh, for sure.
I think it is a sacrifice to our clients. I think on the brokerage side, we have seen little tastes, and this is why I started off by talking about 2008, 2009, 2010, to leading up into COVID time. We got a taste of like this whole work from home thing. We can give them space. They can do this. We have a huge industry of the computer world out here, tech world out here right now that is noticing really quick. It's a problem that all these people are working from home. We have to bring them back into the brick and mortar office. We have to rebuild that. There's a lack of connection and a lack of team and a lack of working together when we are that disconnected. And all of you know what I'm talking about, because if your office has a physical sales meeting, that there's an option to attend by Zoom. Matt, you and I were just thinking about doing this with our group coaching where we're like, we could do this where like we have half of it, like people are tuning in through Zoom and half of it are like in the room. And I'm like, I know already what that looks like. You have this awesome interaction in the room. We all know that's going to happen. We have all the Zoom attendees that are kind of watching an interaction happen, but they're really kind of tuned out. And then in the Zoom rooms, this is my favorite. You have some people that are sitting there fully attentive. Some of them actually leave their mic on just in case they want to interact because they're ready to go. There's another group that says, I'm just going to turn my camera off because, I don't want to distract the room because I'm driving right now or I'm doing other stuff. Like, that's like, thanks for that. Thanks for not distracting the entire room. But like, what are you doing here anyway? You're just like listening to a podcast or whatever. Like, you're not fully engaged in this meeting that we want you here. And then there's another group that doesn't turn their camera off. And if anybody's not subscribing to us on YouTube and wants to do this, you can actually see me. But they're sitting here, not in line with the camera. They're on their phone. By the way, their mic's off. And they're typing away and they're moving stuff and they're reorganizing the office. And every once in a while, they get up and they walk around and they do other stuff. And it's like, what are you like? One, you're distracting. Second is you're not even here with us right now. You're just showing up in like what symbol, like symbolically, like you're here for us. Like, what are you doing? And this is this major breakdown as brokerages have let go of this. And then they wonder why their agents aren't engaged. They wonder why they're looking for other avenues out here that are going to help them be the best that they can possibly be. I think it's because the brokerages are not showing up for those people.
I agree. And I think this raises a very specific issue that I want people to think about. Take this with you because there's no right answer of should you have in person, should you be virtual, should you do this, should you do this. It comes down to what's your intention. And I think the mindset has shifted where people are not as efficient and effective with their time. They're saying, well, I just need more time to do more things. And if I don't have to commute to the office, that means I have more time. Well, what if you were able to commute to the office and be outrageously effective for 2 hours? Just 2 hours. You get to the office at 9 o'clock, you crush it until 11, and then you go out into the field or you go home, right? When you're working from home, a lot of the times, if we're not efficient, it's like, I'm going to show up at 9 and all of a sudden it's 4 o'clock and it's like, shit, I didn't get anything done today. It's like, wait a minute, you didn't get anything done? You had 7 hours to do tons of stuff. You didn't do anything. Whereas the guy who was in his office for 2 knocked out all these customer service calls, did market impact reports, set up 2 listing appointments just in a matter of 2 hours. And I think from a brokerage perspective, I think we've lost sight of helping train and guide agents to being that highly effective person in that on the business effort because we're just like, oh, people need more time to just do more stuff. It's like, you don't need more time to do more stuff. You need to be focused and you need to be doing the right things in the right way.
It's an important thing that I think anybody who's listening to that, anybody who owns a brokerage right now, or a managing broker right now, what I'd be listening to what Matt just said is that we have, like, if we were to take a model and say, what should I focus on right now? It's how can I get my people to start their workday appropriately?
Yeah.
And if you can create an environment that gets them to get up, get dressed, show up, have a couple productive hours right first thing in the morning. Just get them into work mode, whether that's from home or whether that is in the physical office, but find a way to be like, how can I help them show up early, get their day started that way? Because we all know the most productive people that I watch in my world, they own their mornings. They get up, they get started, they get moving. The ones that really have the most difficult time, they kind of drift into the afternoon. And then it's like, well, I guess all of a sudden I'm going to go show property. So now I'm going to get ready for work. But you were never fully in a high productive mode all morning. We never got there. We never turned that on. And the faster you can turn that on, the faster you can get into it. A lot of times it will carry through the rest of the day, or you get that chance to get really productive in the morning and then shut it off and go do whatever you want to go do for the rest of the day. And I'd rather you have that. I'd rather have the really productive morning and then be like, you know what? It's 10 o'clock and I'm done. I've had 2 amazing hours and I'm good. I got nothing else on the books right now. I'm going to go do the things I want to go do. I'm going to go have lunch with my kids. I'm going to go to the park. I'm going to go, have a date lunch with my wife. Like, let's go do that now rather the other way around. And I think it's, again, brokerage, it's in your hands. And then agents, anybody listen to this, like it is a productive way to handle your day, but you've got to have some sort of a commute. I will say that for me. You have to have some sort of a commute that breaks you from one environment and brings you in the new environment. Because otherwise you get into this crazy multitasking mode where you think you're doing a lot of stuff. You're kind of working, but you're kind of not. You're kind of doing this. And it is I've watched so many studies on multitasking to be like, that is not
doesn't
it.
work.
No.
No, multitasking isn't a thing. It's just fast task switching. Like you're not multitasking. Gosh, Garrett was talking to me this morning when we got on here and I was in the middle of writing an email when he hopped on and he's going through this whole thing, telling me all this stuff. And I'm just like kind of typing away. And I was like, wait, why would we do that? And he's like, you're not listening to me, are you? And I was like, no, I was writing this email. I was like, there's no way I could do both of those things at the same time. And so don't kid yourself when it comes to then trying to multitask things that are not even in the same category. Like, oh, I'm going to multitask my personal life and my work. Not even remotely close in category. It's not going to happen. And so, like, I agree with you, Garrett. It comes down to how do you set up your discipline and your intention? And from a broker standpoint, I think it comes down to the culture. Pure culture is going to drive what happens virtually or in person.
Well, because you called yourself out on this a little bit with this morning's routine that we get to go through, I do think it's funny because we wonder why our important people in our world get frustrated with us. And there's no difference than a conversation with my wife or my kids in the front room where I'm not fully working, but I'm not really fully at home because it is my work day. But, I'm supposed to be sitting here with my friends that are in from out of town, but my mind is actually kind of doing some other work here right now in the background. It's not fair to those people. You wonder why they get frustrated with you. And the conversation where you were having, like, I was sharing with you a really good idea of a different thing that we could be offering and putting out that requires both you and I to do work. And I was about a good 5 minutes in when you're like, what, why would we do that? And that's where I was like, dude, stop, whatever you're doing, stop and just listen to me for a second. That like happens all the time when we have these types of environments where we're not fully engaged in wherever we're at. If you're at a listing presentation and your brain is somewhere else, you're going to piss off those people on the other end. When your loved ones are trying to tell you about their special thing that happened during their day and your back of your brain, you're sitting here going like, did I send that paperwork over? I'm not sure I sent it over. Maybe I should get on that later. And they're all of a sudden going, Dad doesn't care that I got the grade that I was striving for and studying so hard for on that exam. Like, he doesn't care. This is the unintentional things that can happen when you're not fully engaged and fully in the moments of what you're doing. So this is why I love the mental commute, the being in a space, showing up to do what you're going to do 100%, because that's multitasking and it damages a lot more than just productivity.
Well, and that's, I want to highlight this, and this is probably a whole nother episode too, of the distractions, digital distractions, our phone, but even just tying it to this virtual versus in person, you and I have figured out over the years how to work 3,000 miles apart pretty darn well. That said, there are things in our physical environments that could easily distract us from this tiny little camera here where, whenever we're in person, our energy is even more elevated than it is. Yeah. Like when you're in person, you can't be distracted by someone else because someone will see you typing that email and be like, what are you doing? Right. And it's not that it's right or wrong. And it's how you manage it so that you can be effective. That's what it comes down to. And if you're not being effective virtually, then clearly something needs to change. If you're not being effective in person, then clearly something needs to change. So just pay attention to those things, whether you're an individual agent or you're a broker owner, and you're going to figure it out. We figured it out. We figured out how to do the virtual thing really, really, really well. And so it's not that it can't be done. It's just a matter of how you approach it and how you show up.
100%.
So, well, Garrett, thanks for going down this path, man. This is good. Well, I hope that you guys got some value out of this, and I know that you did. And if you did and you think, hey, I want to send this to my broker, right? I want to send this to somebody who might need to hear this, share it up. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or whatever, you could just share it right there, or head over to YouTube, share the actual video. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, we would love for you to subscribe, because we love doing this podcast, and the only way we grow is through you all sharing it, which is how we've been growing. So I also got to say thank you to all of you who do share this. We love you guys so much. So please continue to do that. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you want to come in and join into our community, if you join our group coaching, the 11 Circle, you get the full access to the business plan as well. Or you can just grab the business plan, but we got a ton of great stuff in there. If you want to see a virtual environment working at a high level, you can come in and see what we got, because I think we've figured that out pretty darn well. And we'd even love for you to come to an in-person experience at some point. And the best way to get to know that before everybody else is to be in our world in some capacity, whether it's the Inside Track or the 11 Circle, or even just subscribe to our newsletter. So appreciate you guys a whole lot. Thanks for tuning in, Garrett. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. As always, we'll be back soon.
Take care, y'all.